This is Channel 2 News, coverage you can count on.
There's a new sheriff in town. This one is prepared to use military force.
President Donald Trump appears to be taking a different course of action in dealing with North Korea. A local national security expert weighs in on tonight's Channel 2 News Big Story at 5:30. Trump administration officials say President Obama's strategy of strategic patience is a thing of the past. Good evening, I'm Landon Miller.
And I'm Ariana Bennett in for Kristen Remington tonight. Thank you for staying with us. Well, the shift in policy comes as North Korea continues to pursue its nuclear weapons development. While visiting Japan today, Vice President Mike Pence emphasized that diplomatic and economic pressure is the best way to neutralize North Korea. But he says all options are on the table.
We will protect the peace and security of this part of the world and achieve our shared goal of a nuclear-free Korean peninsula.
North Korea tested a missile on Sunday, but it blew up on the launch pad. Still, a top official in Pyongyang is promising weekly missile tests. Paul Nelson joins us now live in the studio after speaking with an expert in foreign affairs. So, Paul, what is he saying about this current situation?
Well, it's very dangerous, Ari, simply because there's a lot of unknowns. Ty Cobb was a special assistant to President Ronald Reagan during a time when the U.S. and Soviet Union were involved in somewhat of a standoff. While he says the Cold War and North Korea issue have similarities, they're also very different.
The United States has been at odds with North Korea for decades, and it appears the tension is only getting worse.
One of the most critical issues facing the national security community is the threat represented by an erratic leader of North Korea.
Cobb says while Kim Jong-un and his predecessors have threatened the U.S. in the past, they didn't have the military capability to follow through. But that could be changing as North Korea continues to test ballistic missiles, possibly with nuclear capability.
We don't know if they've been able to miniaturize a nuclear warhead, put it on a missile, and send it to a defined target as far away as the United States. But we'd be very foolish to think that that day is not coming.
While the U.S. has had nuclear standoffs with the former Soviet Union, Cobb says it was on a different scale.
You basically had fairly rational people in the Kremlin, and certainly you did in the United States and other nuclear powers like France and Britain and China.
Cobb says Kim Jong-un is much more antagonistic and irrational, raising the stakes.
The danger given that situation is much higher with respect to North Korea today than it was in any of the time of the Cold War with the Soviet Union.
That may force the U.S. to play its hand against North Korea one way or the other.
If you're a national security planner in Washington right now, you say, 4 years from now, this is where they're going to be. So this is a problem we might have to take care of sooner rather than later.
China could possibly help defuse the threat, but they don't necessarily want a unified Korea. Cobb says South Korea's capital and the North's military could make for a powerful foe to China. Covering the big story live in the studio, Paul Nelson, Channel 2 News.